Matthias, with over $400 million in property transactions since 2015, you are a dynamic force in the world of real estate. Celebrated for your remarkable achievements and unwavering dedication, being ranked 174 nationally out of 1.5 million agents in 2020, you continue to stand out within the illustrious Douglas Elliman network, securing an impressive number 4 ranking among 10,000 agents. In 2020, your exceptional 63rd rank among Florida's 200,000 licensed realtors and number 6 position in the state and number 17th nationwide with Douglas Elliman further underscore your skills in this industry. Your consistent excellence is reflected in notable rankings like 114th in Florida in 2019 and 136th in 2017 by Real Trends. You've earned the number 2 position among Douglas Elliman agents for Jupiter and Palm Beach Island in 2017. Your expertise extends beyond accolades, featured in esteemed publications and well-versed various real estate domains from luxury residence to multifamily investments, new construction, and many more. You're also a father, avid surfer, and an independent thinker. What you have done in your career with real estate and now another venture is motivating to entrepreneurs out there. But what I want to know is, do you think you are creative?
Do I think I'm creative? I think in the real estate space, you have to be creative. I think if you're going to be successful, it's hard to maybe have a very black and white brain, navigating deals. You have to get creative in transactions, because every deal is different, and there's the human element of real estate where a buyer might, need down payment assistance, or they might need a longer time to close. So there's a lot of different avenues where you have to be creative in real estate. And then that's just with the transactional aspect of it. The marketing is very critical too, to have that creative brain, to know if you have a photographer shoot a property that's, let's say 10,000 square feet, big house, substantial home. You might have 200-300 photos. You're not going to put 200-300 photos on MLS, or you shouldn't, I should say. So you have to choose the top, say 25, 50 photos, because no one's going to look through a whole, photo roll such as that. So that's part of the creative brain as well. Choosing marketing pieces, choosing the best photos. So I think naturally I do have kind of a creative brain, and how I just kind of went into how it's assisted with real estate, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's, not only in that aspect of your life and your career that you've built for yourself too, as well. We've crossed paths so many times in this little town that we have, but I've seen you in so many different facets of just, I wouldn't even really call it a hobby. Surfing is like such a big part of like your life and your lifestyle too, as well. But I'm reading Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, and a big common denominator of like every chapter, he talks about the importance of being present in just today, real life, and just having that level of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And as creatives and just entrepreneurs, it's so easy to kind of get fixated of what happened yesterday and how to kind of solve those problems, or what to kind of figure out what's soon to come in the future as well. But that's why I give you a lot of props, because, man, dude, you're a family man. You're all like, dude, I don't know how you're halfway always in the water and always closing out these deals and stuff too. But I find it really interesting that it wasn't really always like that for you. Being graduated FAU, and I know you were working as like not camp counselor, but you were like the skate park guy, like making sure that everyone had like their helmets clicked in and the knee pads at the time. I'm not even sure kids really wear knee pads anymore at the skate park, and elbow pads. But no, that's why I figured you are such a prime example of what it means to kind of be present and really understand how to kind of make your decisions and how to make them well. So, take me back to that, where you're at FAU, you're studying, like, what was it, marketing?
Marketing,
yeah. You're studying marketing, and then you kind of go into a whole other different career field. Weren't you originally kind of thinking about going to be working with like these brands, going to be marketing, kind of using like that creative side of your brain too as well, but Sure. Then just you had a whole other plan of life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I did do some camp counseling as well, actually. So I worked with Paul Vargas at Aloha over here in Juneau Beach at Loggerhead one summer. And then with Jimmy over at Locals Surf Shop, we helped implement the skateboarding camps at Palm Beach Gardens. And then I think after that is when he went to Abacoa as well. I think he's more so at Abacoa now. But yeah, so it was pretty cool process to be, a skate camp counselor, surf camp counselor, and then I worked for the city of Palm Beach Gardens. And there was definitely a period after college where I was a little lost, because the intention throughout college was, okay, I'm going to get this degree in marketing. I'm going to work for, my whole identity. I'm going to work for a surf brand. I'm going to work for a skateboarding brand. I'm going to do something along those lines. But kind of my own fault, which now was a blessing, was that I didn't really look into the career options after college. Like my last year or 2 years of college, I wasn't looking at Indeed or, monster.com or any of those, job posting websites to see what was available. I didn't do that until after graduation. So after graduation, I'm looking in all those brands, those positions, there was nothing available.
Yeah.
There was and this is 2012, 2013. So the only gigs that were available for marketing and advertising agencies were brands that I didn't really necessarily want to align myself with, and they were down in Miami. I was like, I'm not moving to Miami. It's not happening. No disrespect to friends and colleagues in Miami, but it's not a fit.
Yeah.
Jupiter is really it.
It's crazy how different from just 2 hours down south or an hour down south is so different from an hour north, hour west. That's why Florida's so interesting.
Yeah. It's like its own country within the United States.
Dude, exactly.
There's just so much geographically and
but I don't blame you for not wanting to kind of move to Miami.
Yeah. It's just this has become home, and I love it here. So that was the intention, was to do that, and I'd worked at the Palm Beach Garden Skate Park throughout college since I was 18, and then was doing some surf lessons, some skate lessons as well. And I had a friend, and I've told this story recently as well. So I had a friend, and he was doing real estate, and he was making, let's say, $1,000 a week. And to me at the time, it was like, this guy is like, especially with my skate park income, I was like, that guy's rich.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is just crushing it, And I looked at that, and I just saw it as something to kind of hold me over. Some people after college, they might get a bartending job. They might get, just something to kind of help float the income, especially if they're in an entry-level position with whatever their degree is in.
Besides the income, what else interested you in the real estate industry? Because, I mean, even I think about it sometimes too. And it's a funny question that I see a lot of like self-made entrepreneurs, like Grant Cardone type of field of people. The question that they ask is like, if you have to start from zero, nothing at all, what is the first job you're going to get? Some people are saying, I'm going to bartend at night so I can meet people and network and do all that as possible. And then I'm going to try to kind of go into a sales commission based thing as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting question. What attracted me to real estate beyond just the money in the beginning was the ability to surf.
Yeah, making your own schedule?
God's honest truth.
I believe it, dude.
Because I would go, and I was interviewing for a few companies locally as well, with marketing, just entry-level positions, basically. And I remember there was one, and I forget the company. It was in West Palm, and it was on Clematis, but it was one of the office buildings right by the fountain there. And it was on the third or fourth floor. You could kind of get a glimpse of Palm Beach. You could kind of get a glimpse of the ocean, and if there was swell lines coming in. And the hours were 8 to 6. I was thinking, man, this is going to be torture. I'm literally going to be able to see clock towers, see the swell lines coming in, and just be stuck. Even if I got my work done for the day, like just stuck, right? So part of definitely what enticed me in the beginning was the ability that, if the waves were really good, having the hope of the ability to say, oh, I'm not available to show until, 10 a.m. or 10:30. Just having a little bit of that freedom to go surf when the waves were good.
Dude, that's so important, man.
Definitely was a driving factor.
Oh my gosh.
And still, honestly. Yeah.
When'd you get into surfing?
It would have been about 13, 14, but probably around 16 started to really get into it more. And then actually, I'll tell you, is from, let's say, 18 to my early 20s, I still surfed whenever there was waves, but skateboarding was truly my passion from, say, like 18 to 22, 23. I'd go surf, get down the line, do a turn here and there. But I would say, honestly, from in the last 10, 12 years, I've really, fell in love with it even more into adulthood.
Yeah, we were just talking before. I mean, when you fall getting older, it just hurts more and more. I mean, even it was a couple of years ago, I was doing a show in New Smyrna playing some music, and there's like a local YMCA around the corner, and they have like a simple bowl. I'm not looking to do anything crazy. I'm like, if I break any of these hands, I'm out of work and I'm screwed myself. So just carving, just having some fun, whatever. And then some kid scooter just drops immediately. So I just kind of like ditch and bail, but I fall, hit my shoulder. I'm like, that hurt way worse, way more than I remember. And it was like kind of still sitting there too, as I'm like, just like kind of just brushing it off. And I'm like, this is different now. And I'm like, I guess this is approaching adulthood.
It's always a scooter kid.
Yeah, right. It's always a scooter, always a scooter kid. Who are some of your favorite skaters, though? I mean, it's because I think it's funny where, I mean, it's interesting seeing the denominator of surfing and skate culture, and I know a lot of it comes from like the Dogtown era and just kind of that style of skateboarding too as well. But who are some of your favorite skaters?
You know, I haven't really kept track in recent years, you know, but I really loved Chris Cole when I was younger. I thought he was just like, you know, just chuck himself down anything.
He's sponsored by Zero, right?
Zero,
that was his company.
Yeah, and then Daewon Song too, like all of that crazy, you know, mini ramp transition stuff. Especially working at the skate park, you know, you'd go skate gardens and then go home and watch those clips and just be like blown away. But on a local level, you know, Brad Cromer and Zion, I mean, it's just so incredible what they've done. You know, coming from here, especially, and not having a skate scene such as, you know, Southern California. Those guys, I mean, for the kids here too, are so inspirational and just good humans, just really good guys, both of them. So, you know, super stoked to see their success and what they've done with it, you know?
Dude, absolutely. So going back to kind of real estate. So you also what enticed you is just the flexible hours to kind of have such a big part of your identity still be there too as well. So when did you officially kind of start doing real estate?
I was 24, so 2013. I got my real estate license, so I've been in it. October will be 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you first got in there, did you use kind of what you had with like marketing and your degree into that as well? So where did that balance slowly become more of just real estate?
So the marketing degree, how has that helped? I'm trying to really the language of business more than anything, you know, especially the finance classes. Took a few business law classes as well. So like a basic understanding of business law, contractual law, that definitely helped. But in the beginning, yeah, I would say the marketing degree helped with, I discussed this recently on another podcast a buddy of mine had me on, was the Any Broker Advertise feature.
Yeah, so I saw that. I saw that episode.
Having to position and market and how to do the write-ups and really present, you know, the rentals in their best light that were other people's listings that I was promoting on Craigslist, definitely, you know, the marketing degree helped with that for sure. And it's progressed though, you know, and a lot of it is from experience too. So, you know, reviewing ads, Luxury Home Magazine, Jupiter Magazine, Palm Beach Post, Stewart Magazine, you know, really working with the marketing department here in-house. You know, we're very fortunate at Douglas Elliman. We have our own PR department. We have our own marketing department. We have our own IT department. Like a lot of the stuff is just kind of taken care of. And then Danielle, who I work with on all my transactions as well, we partner up on a lot of our deals. So Danielle will also kind of be an extra set of eyes too, to say, maybe we should use this, maybe we should tweak that. And, you know, having something to bounce off of a few different groups has been super helpful. You know?
Yeah, that's process seems so streamlined where it's just effortlessly just continue. It just goes.
Yeah.
It's a nice flow of a wave.
Yeah.
Just to be cheesy just enough with it.
Has to be, you know, yeah, because you can't get hung up in this business, or really I think any business, you can't get hung up on the minutia, right? It's like quick decisions with everything, because there's 100 other decisions that you have to make throughout the day.
Something I caught that you mentioned though was the language with learning marketing and business. I can relate to that too, just from going to school for public relations. I mean, I didn't finish, but I mean, I got a nice year and a half out of it, from PR law, just crisis communication, understanding like the language of what's being said and kind of pointing back to the message and the subject has really changed the way I look at business, the way I conversate with certain people, the way I'm able to like look at a piece of media and really kind of understand what is being said. I mean, it's kind of all relates to the time I put into at that time was college, but it's a big part of my identity too, I would say, because I mean, there's still pieces and elements that I use there, But going into real estate, so you have, I mean, having the marketing degree, being a personable person, working at the skate park, understanding, like kind of talking to people in the community, did you ever feel like, I guess people call it imposter syndrome, where they're just like, oh, I'm kind of doing this for flexible hours. I mean, it's good money when you put in the work, you get the work out. What you put in, you kind of get out of it too as well. But at any time, did you feel like I'm not going to be doing this for too much longer?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I wouldn't say imposter syndrome so much as like I didn't feel like a fake, because I was always pretty transparent, with myself too, especially. And I think people, especially now, appreciate that, now that I have chose it, let's say the last 8.5, 9 years of my career, that this is my career. This is what I'm doing, right? This is who I am. This is my identity. Is that I've never, especially in the beginning, tried to necessarily be something I wasn't, right? I wasn't going to pretend to be some incredible golfer and sell you on that. I wasn't going to pretend to, be an equestrian or someone that loves tennis, or it's just not my identity. I've always been true to myself, and my clients have known that, oh yeah, Matthias, he likes to surf, he likes to spearfish, he likes, so I think people really appreciate that, because there is so much fluff in the real estate world. Like there's so many top producers, and then you actually look at their volume and it's like, you sold one house last year, or they join a team and they use the team's metrics to try to push themselves. And there is a lot of stuff you kind of have to cut through in the real estate sector. A lot of people are going to know that fake it till you make it. But I was always, like I said, I never tried to create an image of something that I wasn't, So in the beginning, I'd say the first year, and I've talked about this before too, I hated it. I mean, I did not like my career. I did not, because I was doing rentals. I did 50 rentals my first year, and I just was worn out. Best way to put it,
How so?
Worn out. Really crazy hours, not much income. To do 50 rentals, let's say some of these people looked at 20 rental properties, right? So if you just do the math, I mean, looking at 1,000 or 2,000 rentals in a year, and those are 50 that closed. I think about the other 50 that didn't. It was a lot, and I didn't have a farm either. And people would always push that on me in the beginning. I think this is important to note, especially for someone who's thinking about getting into the real estate world, is you have to choose your farm, right? This was just like pushed down, on me constantly in the beginning. You have to choose what area you're going to work. Well, in the beginning, it was take any opportunity you could. I had to pay rent. I had to, put food on the table. So there was no farm in the beginning. It was, you want a rental in Boca? Great. Oh, you changed your mind? You want Stewart? Perfect. Let's jump in the car. We're going to Stewart. It was any opportunity that I could take. I remember I had a listing. It was one of my first big listings. It was around $1 million. And it was in Breakers West in West Palm, which I would never, like now, Sarah Mahoney's incredible. She sold on site there. Like that's who I would give it to, right? Or if I had someone for Boca, give it to someone down there. Like markets I would never work now. However, in the beginning, the farm was whatever opportunity I could get. But now, it's, Jupiter, North Palm, Palm Beach Gardens, waterfront, East End. So, it was really difficult to have a love or a passion when it was just, I had to take any opportunity, and I was only doing rentals, and I didn't have a farm, and I didn't really have a community, because the farm, it becomes your community, the people that you work with and the relationships and friendships and things of that nature. So it was something that grew on me though, because as time progressed and I started to find success and I started to, like I said, find my people, then it was like, wow, I really, I wake up one day, I'm like, I don't hate this anymore. Like it's been a month, and I actually look forward to getting to the office early or going there after the kids go to bed and cranking out some stuff, and it became a passion. Yeah.
Did you always have that drive?
Yeah, I definitely have always had that drive. I don't think I've ever would call myself a slacker since being an adult. I've never really been someone who just kind of said, I don't know, especially dealing with people in particular.
You want to show up for people.
Yeah. There's something inside of me that, like, showing up a half hour late on a showing, or just not showing up, or not sending them the email I told them I would send them. Like, I can't live with myself with that, And it is pretty mind blowing to me. Like when I see agents on the other side of a transaction, I'm not gonna say any names, but yeah, they just won't respond or won't get back or won't get the necessary documents by the time that it's due or whatever it might be. And it's kind of infuriating, and it's frustrating, definitely, because people are relying on us, and a lot of times it's the biggest asset they'll purchase in their lifetime.
Exactly. And even with that, it's sometimes it's not so much of a personal a personal situation where it's like, oh, I'm not going to just send this back because that person's annoying, or that maybe that there's a bigger transaction over here. I mean, sometimes, on the other end, it's probably like, oh, it's not too big of a deal if I show up like 5 minutes late. It's just 5 minutes, but right. It just sets a precedent of like the relationship of your professionalism too, and like how much you care. So I can relate to that like exactly too, of just the importance of showing up for people and just saying something and doing it and meaning what you say as well too. But even something what you just said about how this is such an important asset, and sometimes it is their biggest purchase that they're ever going to make too. So how do you navigate through the emotional side and the business side when you're dealing with let's start with like a rental, because yeah. I know you didn't immediately go right into luxury homes, but and I kind of figured that the rental side, maybe there's a lot more emotion that kind of goes into it, maybe.
My own or the tenants?
Dealing with the
Landlords?
tenants. Yeah, dealing with the tenants and the landlords.
What was more emotional? No, I don't know necessarily if the tenants were more emotional. It depends. It's situational, because like say someone, the landlord decided they were going to renovate the place or double the rent. So then they were under this time crunch and they have young kids. Those situations can definitely be emotional and challenging. I'd say the purchases though, especially first time home buyer purchases, which I did a lot of, let's say in year 2 and year 3, those would historically have been the most emotional because it's their first time through the process.
Makes more sense.
They've saved up, let's say 2-3 years for their down payment. Every item is so critical, and it's just, there's no experience there. They're only experienced as a tenant, right? Or they're living with family, whatever the situation might be. So the first time home buyer experience, typically the most hand holding, for sure.
Okay.
But also very rewarding. To see kind of like that American dream, especially if it's a young family or someone that's really worked, last 5 years, and this has been their goal to buy a home in Jupiter, close to the beach or whatever. There's always a story behind everything, especially when it's going to be their primary residence. But those historically, I would say, were the most kind of emotional. So navigating that, trying to be empathetic. Sometimes, people can be very unreasonable too, of course, right? In all different valuations in real estate, not just first time, but also in the higher end as well. And try not to take things personal, try not to take it on like it's, that I have to absorb it all either. And I do like little breathing techniques as well too. Like sometimes I'm on the phone. Sometimes people just need to vent, 10, 20 minute kind of where they're so frustrated and they need to kind of speak at you, and giving them that time, just giving them that time, knowing that I'm going to have a half hour between showings in the car. Okay, I'm going to call this, let me call them. I know they're frustrated. Let me just talk it through with them. Let me work it through with them, because I don't want them to hold on to all of that. Right. And just letting them speak about where they're at and what their frustrations are and how can I navigate. A lot of it is just listening, but sometimes it's, well, no, I understand why you're upset about that, but let's look at the big picture. And, this item we can definitely work through. And these are items that a handyman can probably knock out in a day. So let's not get too hung up on that. And, just picture yourself 6 months after it's closed and you've done all the renovations you want to and what that's going to look like, and trying to just stay positive, glass half full, because, if I jump in that glass half empty kind of mindset with the client, like what benefit is that? Why they even hire me, So and just trying to really, like I said, work it through with the client to let them know that they're heard, is critical. Definitely.
Absolutely. Did you always have that approach mindset going into the sales aspect of it now?
Yeah, I've definitely, even when people in my mind, I'm like, this is so unreasonable. I've gotten better at it. In a sense of, I've always listened, I feel like, and tried to be there for clients no matter how busy I've gotten. Listen. Yeah. And I've always tried to do that, but I think in the beginning of the career, especially, I would internalize a lot of it and didn't really have methods to be able to relieve like the stress. And then I would just be like so up and down and like short of breath and really uncomfortable. But I think now with the experience, and I mean, there's certain conversations where I feel like I've had 60 of those conversations, so it's easier for me to navigate, and it's not as fresh. And kind of like the first time home buyer, like the first time home buyer is the first time buying the home, or for me, maybe it was my 10th transaction, and now it's my 800th transaction. So it's a much different experience and understanding of it all and how to navigate.
Oh yeah, I mean, you mentioned breathing techniques. Is there any other techniques or just things that you kind of like to do to kind of prepare yourself if you kind of feel that you are taking too much on personally? Because that's the thing too. I mean, I'm always available to listen. I've had friends call me looking at the end of their life sort of thing, and I've had to be like, all right, this is a very serious moment, and I want to respect them and respect their time and really understand what's going on. And I will just remove myself. I remember vividly, I was in the kitchen having a full-on conversation with my now wife, and I think my mother-in-law at the time too, and I got a phone call. It's kind of late. I'm like, why is this person calling me right now? One of those things where you're just like, I'll wait till tomorrow. I'm like, no, why is he calling me now? So I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then conversation kind of arose, and then I removed myself, kind of listened, talked through whatever. But I feel like that, like some of those like emotions and stuff too, kind of like still stuck here, and I just like still felt like a certain way. It was empathy towards the other person. It was just like all my thoughts were kind of going there too. So how do you? I mean, besides breathing techniques, obviously, because I mean, yeah, I'm a big advocate for that too as well. But how else do you kind of navigate through that?
Yes, to not like absorbing it. I think is staying consistent and taking care of myself as well is critical. And what that looks like for me is, when there's waves, going surfing, taking that time, getting off at a reasonable hour, and trying to unplug as much as possible for a few hours with the kids, with my wife, going on trips, going to the Bahamas, going on a surfing trip, doing yoga 2-3 days a week over at Native Yoga. Todd's place is incredible. So there's a bunch of, it's not, I would say, one singular thing that I do. In the moment is the breathing though. Definitely. Someone's unloading, and they did this and that agent did that. I hit the mute button.
Hit the mute button,
right? God's will, my will, breathing out my will. Because my will might be like, chill the F out.
God's will, my will. Is that what you said?
God's will, breathe in through my nose, my will out through my mouth, and that's helped my whole career for sure. Because like I said, sometimes I might have had 4 of those phone calls in a row, right? Phone call number 1, where the listing agent is freaking out and why isn't this happening? What's going on with that? And this request you made is insane. And then hold on, I have to jump on this other click. I hang over, I jump on a call with an attorney that's representing someone, well, we didn't receive these documentation and we feel that, and then click, I have to hang over, go to this another call, and this person, well, this wasn't disclosed, and just like so much stress with no relief sometimes.
Yeah.
Back to back, 4 calls, 5 calls, 6 calls, where every single call is kind of negative, or not negative, but you have to navigate, and it can just feel like it's just building on itself, So I have to just, like I said, just do the breathing, write it down to, okay, I have to handle this situation. I'm gonna take care of all of it. It's all gonna get done. It's all gonna get done. It's all gonna work out, and really believing that too, like not just thinking it, but truly knowing that I can handle what I can handle, what's on my plate. And I have a lot of support as far as, like I said, with Danielle, and I work with other people in the office, Diane and Seth and Brandon. Like I don't have a team. There's no Matthias Fretz team. There's a lot of people think that I'm myself, but I work with agents in the office. We work together collectively, and being able to leverage different people's skill sets in the office has been huge, because I might have a buyer or I might have a seller, and we connect and we get along. However, I think maybe bringing this person in the office with me, onto that listing, I know that, there's going to be a connection there, and they'll be able to help navigate and, maybe build a friendship there that then we can work through the transaction better.
Where does that trust come from in yourself? So Matthias is taking a call, so I'll take this time to do a nice ad read. And this episode is sponsored by absolutely nobody, but if you want to sponsor it, just hit me up. Actually, no, what am I talking about? This episode is sponsored by Golden Juicery.
Stay hydrated, baby.
Taking it all on. Oh, the trust.
Trust in yourself. Yes,
Yeah.
because there's been situations even with my business too. I mean, I have a couple jobs kind of coming up where there's talent flying in from all over the country.
Sure.
And I'm navigating that, the business, the location, I'm putting the team together. My bid got accepted. And then there's times where I kind of sit back and I'm like, and maybe me last year would be like, is this too big of a job for me? Is this too big of something? Even me talking to these people, am I talking out of my ass? Sort of thing. But I've learned through over time to have like these techniques and really just have a realistic understanding of, I've done stuff like this before. This is not the first rodeo of mine of doing something to this caliber. So I have like those reminders. I have to kind of have that mental checklist in my head too and have these mental conversations. But with you, I mean, that's kind of even going back to the original statement where I'm talking about the creative act and the way of being and how important it is to be present in the realness of today. You're talking to like 4 people, different people on the phone, multiple assets and avenues, a lot of heightened emotions and business deals and stuff too. How are you able to trust yourself?
That's a great question. The experience too goes back to it. And then it's the 6 P's. It's what they say. It's prior planning or proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that, I know a lot of engineers say that as well. And I've truly believed that though. You know, if I go into an appointment and I don't get the listing, there's only been a couple times where I was so swamped going into the listing appointment, let's say the week before, that I went in and felt a little unprepared. And that's the worst feeling. It's like going to take a test at school, right? And it's been a long time since that's happened, because the feeling of going into the appointment unprepared or leaving feeling like, gosh, there was a couple questions they had asked that I feel like I just didn't really hit it. Now, because of those experiences, like doesn't matter if I have to get up at 5, in the morning, if I have to go back to the office late at night, I will make sure. They might call me the day before. Hey, Matthias, we're flying into town. We're going to be in town tomorrow, 12 noon. We're interviewing 4 different brokers, and would you make yourself available? Would you be available? Sure, let's do it. And I might have another buyer that same day flying in from out of town to look at properties too. So I have to try to navigate everything to make sure that I'm prepared for it. But studying the market closely has helped a lot with that every single day, right? I'm on like 30 different auto searches in our local area. So I'm seeing what's selling, what's expiring, what's trading, what's getting reduced, just knowing my stuff, lineal price per square foot on the ocean, what properties on the river are trading for, different sections of the river. And then knowing, North Palm on the canals, south of Lighthouse, north of Lighthouse Bridge, all these different little intricacies, knowing your market, right? That's what's really helped me with confidence is that preparation, that constant preparation. It doesn't matter. I might close 50 million one week, right? And have like just an incredible week for my career. Still going to stay. There's no, all right, well, I had a great week, so I'm going to take the next month off, Can't do it if you're going to be current. If you're going to be current and you're going to know your stuff and really, be working on behalf of your clients in their best interests, it's staying on top of it every single day. Every single day.
One of my favorite quotes, I think it comes from like an NFL coach. It's hustle beats talent when talent can't hustle. Because and I look at that as just a way of preparation where you're in that hustle. I mean, hustle culture has gotten so inflated with like, you got to get at 3 a.m. and who's going to carry the boats sort of thing. It's, but there's a preparedness and preparation behind the hustle, because even, I remember one of my first public speaking things like in high school was like speaking in front of like my small little private school I went to of like nobody, and we knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. Was pretty calm, not too over exaggerated, but I didn't prepare anything. I'm like, I'm gonna speak from the heart. It'll be so easy. And then I just blanked. I was like, yeah, so this happened and then that happened and yeah, whatever. And thank everybody. And then everyone thought I was kind of like joking, kind of just trying to be humorous. I'm like, no, I froze up. I had no idea. And then the person I was speaking with, I remember him like having like a little bit like bullet points. Like, I'm going to say this and do that too, whatever. And I'm like, dude, just speak from the heart, man. I mean, like, what?
Yeah. We know everybody.
Yeah, dude, we know everybody. It's going to be super chill. And I'm like, So there's and then another thing I like to do with just like exposure therapy a little bit. If I'm going to like a new music venue or even if I'm trying to get familiar with a piece of equipment and gear. I have like this, since I stopped drinking, I feel like there's certain levels of self-awareness that have kind of presented itself more and more to me. And I don't know if it's my own anxiety that's a little bit more prevalent now, but I've learned kind of throughout the years to just manage and deal with it a certain way. So if I'm feeling like a certain way of like performing at a new place, or maybe it's like a literal actual stage that I'm going to be on, me physically just being there 10, 15 minutes earlier. I used to go kind of scary early. We're like, why the hell are you here this early? And I'm like, okay, I'm causing problems just by being here early. But going there, standing on the stage, kind of looking around too, just like being present and being in my own kind of 2 feet and just breathing and looking around too. Like, it's not so scary. It's not too bad sort of thing. So a little bit of some exposure therapy. I don't know if you can relate to that at all.
Exposure therapy, maybe not so much. Like I said, more definitely, because it'd be difficult to get to someone else's home
Before that,
you know. All right, well, let's see appointment at 11:30. I'm going to show up at 11. Just act like I'm not there. I might start doing scripts and we're talking to a wall, but no. So I don't. Not so much exposure therapy, as much as just being consistent. Like I said, knowing the market. You have a financial advisor, let's say, that's looking at stocks every day, that's looking at the changes in the market, and those are the guys that perform and gals that perform really well. And I think same thing with the real estate market is you're studying your craft. So you're looking at new rules and regulations, new ways to market properties, new listings, what's pending, what's sold, what's expired, what's canceled, what's price reduced, what's price increased, new neighborhoods, new developments as well, what builders in town are active. Things of that nature is just a constant education, which I really enjoy, because it takes away the monotony of, the career, as being able to it's an ever-changing landscape of real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it's that self-control that you have into your own craft of how to improve it a little bit more too as well.
But then also just everything that kind of goes, you got to really love it too. I mean, even like what you said before. Yeah, you have to. Because I mean, if you...
How would you want to study all that if you didn't have a passion?
Yeah, well, especially if the only asset or the only avenue was just to get money out of it too. That's just such a topical surface level thing too. I mean, the root of that, you're gonna not be happy if you're just chasing money the whole time. So I mean, speaking of money, going from rentals, selling homes, and then now kind of getting into the luxury side of real estate. How when did you kind of start seeing the momentum with your career, and then it started kind of getting to that level?
Yeah, I'm going to backtrack real quick though on the momentum and the level of luxury, because it's interesting. Something that you said that resonated was the beginning. Let's say the first year when I was doing a ton of rentals and everything, it really was just about the money. And I think that's maybe part of it too, why it was so unenjoyable, because it was strictly the commission check, right? A lot of times a commission, let's say on a $1,000 a month rental, you get $500 and then the broker would take their cut. And I was always counting the dollars and cents from those rentals to be able to pay the bills. So that's when it was really truly treated as a job and not a passion, because it was strictly income. It was strictly, that was it.
Yeah.
So I was learning the craft and learning the market and the inventory out of necessity for the career, but really was focused on the income. And then it's interesting is as I've grown in the business, of course, money is important. I mean, to be able to have a life, to be able to provide for your family, and I've got 2 kids, and to do that, you have to make an income, but it's not about, I mean, we live well below our means, right? Modest home in Juneau Isles, no, extravagant, really anything in my life. So it's not, if it was about the money, I would have a much different lifestyle, I think. It's truly about passion now and freedom that comes definitely from the income. So luxury, the momentum of where that came from, Douglas Elliman was massive, making the switch to Douglas Elliman. So I was at a different company before, and at the prior company, the goal, I was with a woman, backtracking a little more, backpedaling. So I was with a woman, and we had partnered and we were doing deals, and she did some higher end here and there. A lot of her threshold was at that time, this is 9-10 years ago, $200,000 home, $300,000, $400,000 home. But she would sell $1 million home here and there. I said, why don't we just do that? Look, it's the same amount of work, the same amount of effort. For me, it was more enjoyable, right? To represent, I was more excited on these luxury properties and the fit and finishes and the architectural, design and everything that kind of was involved in these luxury properties was such a better process for me, you know? And, what, I have this niche over here and I have this builder and he does these homes in Loxahatchee and I have these contacts, and I totally got it. You know, she was very comfortable with what she was doing, and she was she's an incredible agent. So, she actually was leaving the company we were at the same time that I was leaving. So it was funny. We had to have this like sit down. I said, I need to have a talk with you. And she said, I need to have a talk with you too. And I'm thinking,
you guys looking at each other like this.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember we sat down. I said, I think I'm going to switch companies. She goes, I think I'm going to switch companies.
Interesting.
So yeah, it just organically happened at the same time, which I was very grateful for, because she had helped me so much in my career that it wasn't this, any kind of dramatic falling out or anything of that nature, because she had already made the decision and I had already made the decision, and legitimately it was within, like, let's say a 2-week time period, and nothing had happened at our prior company. Yeah. It's just we both had these new opportunities on the table. So I was at the prior company, and this was summer of 2016. I had a meeting, a sit down with Don Langdon, the broker here. He's the broker for Wellington, Jupiter, Palm Beach, South Palm Beach, and I think north of here as well. He handles some of the offices. So the furthest north of Douglas Elliman at the time was Palm Beach. And they had been discussing breaking into the Palm Beach Gardens Jupiter market. So there was an agent there who I really looked up to. His name is Steve Davis, great guy. So Steve had said, I want you to come meet with me and Don Langdon, because we really want to expand into this market. And I saw Douglas Elliman's presence, and I saw what they had done from 2009 to 2016. They came into the market in Palm Beach in 2009, and in those 7 years, the agents that they captured and the market share they captured was incredible. And once I sat down with Don Langdon, I realized why. I was like, this guy is who's spearheading this. I mean, he's just a savant. Like, he's phenomenal when it came to real estate, how he could speak on luxury properties, his thoughts, his beliefs, everything that surrounded real estate.
He spoke with passion, I bet, right?
He just still just knows his stuff, and I still call him regularly. And say I'm navigating a difficult transaction, and I just feel stuck that there's only A or B, and I have to choose A or B. He'll be like, "Well, what about C, D, E, and F?" And I'm like, "Wow, I didn't even all my experience, all these deals that I've transacted, and still there's so much to learn, And from being open-minded and leveraging these relationships, and the people who have been doing it longer than me, listening to them is so helpful, So I had the meeting with Don. Don said, we really do want to get into this Palm Beach Gardens. We're looking at an office at this new place, Alton, or we're looking at these other places. And it was actually my wife who said, what about by the dive bar, the Jupiter Yacht Club over there? And I said, oh, that's a great idea. So I came the space that we're in right now. And that was kind of the conversation I had with Don too, was I'd love to join the company, but I can't just have a Palm Beach hub. I do sell some on Palm Beach, but Jupiter Island, Inlet Colony, like, these are really my markets, truly. And he said, I understand. He said, help us find an office then, half kidding. So my wife said that this space that we're in right now was initially WCI, the builder, the national builder. This was their sales center for the Jupiter Yacht Club, say almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
Then it had switched to retail. So I think it was like a dog grooming place in here. Yeah, pretty wild. And they had just gotten approvals to switch back from retail to office for this space within that same month. So everything just kind of, happened. It was so fluid in a way of, okay, yes, we will take an office space in Jupiter. My wife saying, what about, the Jupiter Yacht Club? This place just having changed their approvals, that we were able to, I was able to jump into this office. So what happened from there too was, within the company, I was very fortunate, and this wasn't even strategic, it's just how it happened, was a lot of these Miami agents, New York City, Los Angeles, all these other markets where there's cross-pollination, Palm Beach, Delray, Boca, that if they had a friend or a family member or a client moving to Jupiter, they associated me with Jupiter, right? So this Douglas Elliman platform that's already luxury, where it's already a luxury brand and they're selling these multi-million-dollar properties, I kind of was able to become, I don't want to, it sounds arrogant, but like a little bit of the face in the beginning of the market.
Well, your famous picture, if you just looking so stoic with the Jupiter Lighthouse in the background, that just sells it right there.
It's the pier. It's the pier.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the pier in the background.
Oh, what the hell? What's the picture outside the lighthouse in the background?
Hold on. We got to pull up a magazine now.
I swear I'm not tripping.
You might be right. I think some of the ads in the Jupiter magazine have it.
You know what? There might be a picture where there's the pier and then someone photoshopped the lighthouse out of it.
I think you're right. Hold
I mean, I did my
you're right,
prepared.
you're
I did my
right. Okay,
preparedness.
okay.
Yeah, there's always a lighthouse next to your face. So
We have the lighthouse, but the pier is the headshot, has
Yeah.
the pier behind it, which I thought was funny. So
I've seen that face everywhere.
everywhere. Hopefully not
In my dreams.
Not on the booking blotter though.
No, never. But no, you're right. You're right though, and I think that was a very kind of strategic, smart move. Did you know that was going to be very beneficial, being kind of physically here, other than compared to kind of Palm Beach at the time?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because when they did events here, they did the grand opening, and the mayor came, and like I said, just really the intention was to be synonymous with Jupiter Luxury Real Estate internally with the company, but also within the community too. So meeting the corporate executives, meeting these top producing teams, meeting a lot of these big agents, they'll show up for office openings, whether they're in Massachusetts, whether in New York, in the Hamptons, LA, Texas. As we've expanded, you'll see the same 20, 30 top producers show up because they're networking, they're shaking hands. Hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm in the San Diego office, and our team did X dollars, and this is what we specialize in. I'm going to send you an email too, just to keep me front of mind in the event that you have someone moving or relocating to San Diego, or a family member selling their home there, and it works. It really works. So Douglas Elliman was so special too. We're a single corporation. We're not a franchise. A lot of these other brokerages are franchises. So another company I was with too is a franchise. So they only have a Southeast region. And then there's another owner who owns the California region, another owner who owns the Connecticut region, right? So there's not that cross-pollination between markets. When we have events, it's company-wide. So, it might be in California, it might be in, North Jersey, it might be in Connecticut. And we're able to show up and be present and work out of their offices because we're a single corporation. And I think that's also been key behind the success too.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys are not a franchise, and that's how that's how you guys are doing very well.
Yeah, most brokerages are franchises.
Yeah, that's man.
Or local mom and pops. Yeah.
So now, kind of being in the luxury side of the real estate business, and kind of like I know it does sound a little like arrogant, tooting your own horn, being the face of like kind of Jupiter, whatever. But I mean, literally exactly that. Like that picture, pier, the lighthouse, kind of associated with your name. I mean, people just kind of absorb with their eyes so much, and it's just such a very instant, like identifiable thing as well. But being born and raised in Jupiter, a lot of my family roots comes from Jupiter too. Jupiter has not only changed so much over the years as well, but it still holds its town culture. There's like a pace to it as well, but it also kind of, people kind of say it's like, oh, it's like a surf town, fishing town. I mean, my parents back in the days, like, it used to be kind of like a hick town. I mean, like there's like rednecks everywhere, whatever, but there's also a lot of there's a lot of money in this area. There's a lot of high level people, profiled athletes as well too. And I know appearance is such a big part of certain elements to business, especially kind of to this level. So just curious with you, because even with what you're saying, how transparent you are with, this is who I am, this is myself, I'm not trying to act like I'm somebody that I'm not. How important is appearance kind of talking when you're talking about big dollar amounts and doing these deals with these people?
Appearance. So like physical
appearance. I mean, just like, you're not, I mean, some people may even look at me just the way I'm like not really kind of freshly groomed, shaved, or my hair being raggedy or whatever, and be like, this kid doesn't know 2 from 2.
Yeah. I was fearful, especially when, let's say 2016, 2017, 2018, to, people knew who I was, but I definitely wore a lot more sports coats and button downs, and, the beard wasn't as
The beard's legendary, dude.
That's
that's my roundabout answer is the beard. It's amazing. Has it helped so much? But no.
I think in that identity, as far as I've had it for a long time now, and it's something that and my name too is pretty unique, right?
It is.
It's not like John or Joe or Tom or so. Having a unique name, it's easier to identify with the listing instead of saying, oh, it's Mark's listing. Well, which Mark or which, so I think that's helped. But it's going back to appearance. When I first broke into that luxury real estate market, and my name wasn't as synonymous with luxury and higher end, and I didn't have the accolades or the credentials of the competitors, I definitely, like I said, wore more sports coat, kept the beard more trim, hair a little bit shorter, because I felt like I had to. Like I didn't want anything to stop me from potentially getting the listing.
And this was intentional. This is something that you're kind of telling yourself, where it's just like, keep the beard tight. Yeah, tone back a little bit.
At that time, before making a name for myself, with the hope of like I can be a little bit more myself, I guess, in due time once I grow the business to what I want it to be. And that's how I feel like now. I'll show up to a listing appointment in what I'm wearing now. And fortunately, a lot of people, the reason I have a listing appointment is because Bob and Sally told Susie to call me because I sold their place and their kids' place and whatever it is. So it's a lot relationship based now through the referrals. So because of that, I'm able to, just be more of myself and, like I said, and more comfortable too. Jeans, Vans, polo. This is typically what I'll wear, whether it's a listing appointment, meeting with a developer, meeting with a new client. And I think that appearance is important in a sense of being who you are. Yeah, just like I said, being true to yourself, being comfortable, And a lot of times the guys now too, it's funny, and gals and families that I work with that are, extremely wealthy and private and things of that nature. If you show up in suit and tie and those slick shoes, it's like, what are you selling, man? It's like almost like it can hurt the trust with some of these families because it's like, it's overkill, to show up in August in Florida in 100-degree weather, in the brand new Mercedes wearing like, just, it's excessive. That's not why these people choose Jupiter, I think is important. It's not Manhattan. It's not Boca. It's not Miami. We're in a different special slow town, slower lifestyle, more laid back. And that's why they choose to live here. I truly believe that. So it's kind of being, true to yourself, but also aligning yourself with the market that you're in. The guys in Manhattan, the agents that I know up there that work, and gals, it's like you really do have to be dressed to the nines. You do have to wear the suit and tie. It's expected, when showing these new developments or these properties. And, so it's kind of your appearance should match your market when it comes to real estate, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you said it best. Appearance is just kind of being true to yourself. But also having that self-awareness where it's like, hey, when we're kind of dealing with these certain deals, it's kind of like required to dress a certain way and still hold a level of professionalism to yourself as well.
Sure.
But also, if you're going in 100-degree weather and you're wearing like a flat black suit with tuxedo, top hat, it was, something like my dad's tried to like harp on me like my entire life about like appearance, because I went to a private school for predominantly like my whole life, as far as like you have to have a beard trimmed a certain way, you have to have your hair cut a certain way, and I was just so sick and tired of it. So the moment I was able to just kind of grow what I was able to grow, just huge beard, wild hair, just let it go, whatever. But as I kind of started getting a little bit more into like the business realm of things, I started noticing a little bit more of what he's kind of been trying to tell me and teach me for certain years. Even as an example, I was hired to like kind of document a speaking event. It was at someone's house. It was something that was for some organization, but it was a very nice, wealthy neighborhood and home. And pulled up, start kind of coming in, and I'm wearing like my Nothing Negative embroidered shirt my mom got me, and like the one that I have, collared shirt tucked in, just not Vans, but like kind of like just dress shoes or whatever. And immediately a woman comes up, and I had my hair back too, by the way. I had my hair back. Immediately a woman kind of comes up to me and then just gives me her keys. And I'm like, what's this? And then she's like, you're not valet? And I'm like, no, but I will take your car and I probably won't give it back. And then none of them thought that was funny. And I'm like, so who are you? And I'm like, you guys hired me to do the video production for today. I'm okay. Anyways, I'm Jacob. Hey, everybody. So, but it was little things like that too. Maybe I could have walked in and beat her to the punch and said something else too. But there's little things like that. Then I used to work at a guitar shop too, and it wasn't like a guitar center sort of thing. And we weren't the storefront. Shout out Wolf Guitars. Well, it wasn't a storefront that's like on Indian Town Road. You're just driving. You're kind of casually going and playing guitars. People would drive down from different states, get a hotel, and play $5,000 guitars and spend time with it because it was a very big purchase. But some stuff that's kind of noticed too is just like the cars that certain people drive, but also that they're driving really nice cars and they are not really fulfilling their payment plans with their guitars and stuff too. So, and then there's other people with like crazy beat up pickup trucks, but then they'll play a nice guitar and want it right then and there and just kind of pay for it. So appearance, and it's pretty funny, but it's kind of going back to exactly what you said, just being true to yourself, but also having that awareness on top of that as well.
Yeah.
But on the topic of appearance, awareness, being true to yourself, and now with luxury real estate and the rise and growth of social media and digital media, how have you seen that grow with the career that you're in compared to where it is now today? Because it is crazy to see how many, and I think it's awesome. I think it's beautiful that everyone's able to develop their own personal brand and kind of have their own voice and how they want to say and do it. And also as much power to the people as possible, I truly believe. So if you're able to kind of create content on your phone, be consistent with it, and just have it represent yourself too as well, it's amazing. But people like to kind of show something else that's not really kind of truly what they are too as well. So I mean, I don't know, coming from an actual person like yourself who's been in the career for that long, I don't know how you've kind of see the climate change.
Yeah, it's a highlight reel. I mean, that's what social media is. It's not exactly what someone's life is. You know, very seldom do people, unless they're having like a serious breakdown, you know, post on social about the negative stuff in their life. But it's definitely been extremely helpful in growing the business. Absolutely. Because I mean, you can do boosted posts, but it's been a free platform for people to see that you're active in real estate. So for my own experience, you know, I started right away leveraging social media and seeing how people would privately message, hey, actually I have my uncle's thinking about moving into the town, or my aunt is selling their house on the river, whatever it might be. You know, it keeps the conversation going and it keeps you in front of thousands of people. Whereas it would be extremely difficult without social media to do so, because, okay, maybe I'll put it in Jupiter Magazine or Luxury Home Magazine or other print or postcards, but people might not go that month through the, you know, it's such a wider net, and it's a net of people, a lot of them, you know, that you personally know and have friendships, relationships, family, whatever it is. So the social media has been a great tool. The Fair Housing Act, you can't, with the boosted post, do specific demographics or, you know, hobbies, things of that nature. So it's a wide net when you do these boosted posts, but it still gets your name out there even further. So I've been very grateful for Instagram, for, you know, Facebook, for LinkedIn, all these different avenues that have opened up, you know, opportunities over the years. You know, over the last 10 years, I really, like you said, try to stay consistent with it too. And I think having, and I see other people do this as well, a person behind the brand is important, because I see certain people that only post business, right? Their business, you know, their headshot is their profile picture, and every posting is just articles from the National Association of Realtors.
Sell.
Yeah. And like hustle, motivate, you know, like you were talking about hustle culture. And the next one is like a listing that they have. And then it's just strictly business. And I think you lose a lot of people's attention when they don't know the person behind the brand. A lot of people want to know the person behind the brand. I truly believe
absolutely.
that. You know, who they're doing business with.
I absolutely agree to that. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. No, it was a little bit longer now. It was like 6 years ago. I spoke at a media conference up in South Carolina, Charleston. It was I've had my loose success with other facets of media too, and the panel I spoke on was how to grow followers, and I was on a panel with people that were doing like 6-figure brand deals at the time too, and I'm like, I am not doing that. And yet, and it was but I remember one of the questions being, how do you balance personal posting and business posting, and is there a balance? And I was the one person that said, try to find a balance. Like, one person's like, no, have like your personal page and then have your business page. And another person's like, if you're going to use it for business, use it for business. And then I'm just like, no, I mean, I always kind of use media as like the bridge between you and the general public. I mean, and I help create the content and stuff like that too. But you want to kind of have that bridge, and however you want to build that bridge too as well. So I was the one that was kind of advocating for, no, you want to have a nice shared of kind of like personality and personal post, and also like your identity and your image too as well. And then also I kind of debunked the whole panel I was speaking on and saying you don't want to grow your followers. I mean, you could if you want to, and it looks nice, but you would rather want to create an audience. Because I feel like an audience is more receptive to your message of what you want to say. So when Delilah, right?
Yeah, my daughter.
Yeah, when she's killing it surfing or just having like a good day or whatever, and you sharing her success too, and people are like, man, that's awesome. You have like a genuine conversation back and forth maybe about that person's daughter too. That there's more value there rather than you post a picture and then it gets like a zillion likes and people are just spamming emojis.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a little bit of a dive into the person, I think is important, because that creates that deeper connection too. And that's important. You know, like I was saying in the beginning of this, was the human element of real estate. So being able to have a conversation about spearfishing or about the kids or about schools or about marriage, whatever it might be, you know, really getting a true scope of the identity of the person that you're dealing with outside of just the business. I like seeing that. So I'm trying to emulate like what I've seen over the years in other agents and other people in business, where I think it's so cool. They're sharing their travels or just life experiences beyond that of just business. And I think that's definitely been helpful, you know, instead of just sticking to just listed, just sold, pending, you know, it's great. I think it's important to show that you're active and to share for your clients, you know, to your audience, what you have going on. But also giving, like I said, a little bit more of an idea of who the person is behind it.
Yeah, and it's easy to look and rag on. It's like, oh, another realtor walking down the street saying like, what's up guys, or this or that, and or just starting off with like a statistic and then just saying like swipe up and I could be your realtor today sort of thing. But I mean, I look at it, they're trying and they're putting themselves out there too, and no one some people, I mean, even for me to even speak in front of a camera, it's kind of a little bit more nerve-wracking. I mean, I have a little bit of a speech impediment too, where like I've kind of like learned to kind of speak a certain way too and kind of articulate my thoughts a little bit better. But I learned by doing, and I learned by my mistakes too. And just by the way you do that, you put yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to social media, real estate, and business too, has there been any other kind of avenues that of kind of like presented itself to you in kind of the world of business? Because I mean, you're at a certain level in real estate and luxury homes. I figured you're, and the way, I mean, just from us talking, I feel like your brain is very like, oh, some ideas going on here. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's like going on, and then there's a swell. I'm gonna go surf for a little bit too, sort of thing. And now, but you still do such a great job being present, and you're not taken away from what you're currently building. So I'm just curious if has there been any like business opportunities that kind of presented itself to you or that you've been interested in? Yeah,
the last couple of years, especially, you know, I want to do eventually to the coaching. I think the coaching would be really cool. I don't know if I would say it's weird to say, but there is guys and gals in the office that'll reach out to me, kind of like what I was saying with Don Langdon, where I'll give my broker a call, the regional broker, and work through different situations. And it's very rewarding for me, you know, and I'm not doing it to get paid or anything. It's just, I like helping people in these situations and kind of seeing the light bulb go off. You know, it's really cool to have someone have confidence or trust in me to say, hey, this is what's going on with this situation, with this transaction. What do you think? What should I do here? What should I do there? I get a lot out of that. I really do. So to do the coaching in some facet for me eventually would be really cool. But as right now, so Ethan and I, who owns Golden Juicery, we launched Inlet Bowls, and that's just been such a fun, cool little side project. You know, it's made quite the buzz already, dude. Yeah. And it's been like what, you guys started? Today's a month. July 4th.
Shit, yeah. I was gonna say July 4th. You guys started.
Mm-hmm. So on the weekends, we do the Jupiter Sandbars, and then we do Peanut Island as well. We have a server and a captain, and they're serving acai bowls on the water. A limited menu. The larger menu is obviously at Golden, but that's just been something to see, an idea that I've had for some time kind of come to life, and it's been it's been really a fun process doing, an additional business there. And then I own, several rental properties as well. So the rental properties, I own some land, a few parcels of land as well in North Carolina and here, and duplex and a small house in Northwood. So having the rental portfolio, that's also been, something that I really enjoy. But those are really the main businesses right now. I'd like to get more into the short-term rentals. I've always been a little bit hesitant, because you have to find the right zoning for sure. But that's another avenue I'd like to jump into.
Short-term is as far as like seasonal stuff
Seasonal
too?
Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
fine, like I said, finding the right zoning.
Yeah.
It's critical. So there's definitely ideas of what to do, beyond just that of real estate. But real estate can be, especially depending on the week, very time consuming. So it's leveraging the right partners and doing these avenues too, because I might have a week where I've got 3 buyers in town. I just launched 2 new listings, and my time is, it's taken up. That week's taken up. But then the next week, the listings went under contract, and the buyers, one of them bought something, the other one's going to hold off this season. So then the next week, I have a little bit more free time to invest in it. So that's why leveraging, another partner in a lot of these things, or a group, would be critical for me.
So how did you able to find that balance between it all? Because you seem like you have a very good understanding where you're able to be like, I'm going to go to the Keys with the family and enjoy my time and be able to disconnect, sort of thing. And now it's the weekend. I'm working on inlet bowls as well. But you even took a call just a moment ago too, but you're able to prioritize very well and not be overwhelmed. How do you find that balance act?
Well, sometimes I'm definitely my wife just stopped by. She can attest to that. Definitely, there's some days
bring her back in here. Tell the truth.
Yeah, tell the truth, Rach. Definitely, there is some times where I am very overwhelmed and stressed, and like I said, doing the breathing, staying consistent, taking care of myself, trying to eat healthy. All those things are important for the mind. But I would say the balance. So finding the balance with having kids and a family and a wife and everything else. It's difficult because the example I just gave you, where one week can be just so out of whack, but having a good partner, Rach really understands that, it's not always like that. And then going on those trips, planning is so critical, right? Like if I know that I'm going to have a week where I have a lot of people in town, I have to wake up early, like extra early those weeks. I have to lean on, Danielle and Brandon and Seth and Diane and all these people that I work with, I'm fortunate to work with in the office. And I have a group text with other guys that are agents too, and being able to lean on them. So leveraging the relationships professionally has been critical, definitely. Making some non-negotiables, and also the cyclical nature of the seasons of where we live, right? So like going to the Keys for a week for mini season in the last week of July historically is pretty slow, right? Like there's not a ton of people in town. There's not a whole lot of events or listings being launched, things of that nature historically. Mm-hmm. So being able to know, okay, March, I can't leave, like not for a day. I have to be here in April, like I'm not going anywhere, because that, second quarter in North County year over year, lease days on market, closest to list price, stuff's moving, So having a better, I remember those first few years, especially breaking into luxury, where it was hard to kind of gauge when I could take vacation, when I could leave. But there was a few agents in the office who had been doing it longer than me in the higher end. Gary Poor was a great example. In the summer, I don't know if he still does, but he would go to Aspen for like a month, and I would watch him, or Nick Malinowski down in the Del Rey Boca office too. Like he would go to Italy, and I would see when these guys would leave and try to mirror that, knowing that I'm after the same type of clientele, right, the same level. Mm-hmm. So watching that and knowing kind of when it was okay to give yourself a break. Having a calendar is really important too. That's something I stress more than anything. When people ask me like behind your success, what is something, the Google Calendar on my phone or the iPhone calendar, whatever it is, I have like 20 follow-ups a day. I have all my appointments set, and the calendar kind of rules my life.
Do you write? Do you physically write anything down, or is everything kind of digital for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard because I'd have Post-its everywhere. I used to do that, and I used to, like when I was qualifying tenants and stuff like that at the beginning of my career. And I've talked about that before, how I just still have like stacks and stacks of these notes. But these days, really, the easiest is just go in the calendar. When I'm on a call with someone too, let's say a follow-up call, they say, you know what, Matthias, we've changed our budget, or we changed the area we're looking at. Under their contact, I'll be writing notes the whole time during our conversation as well. So yeah, I would say the calendar, making non-negotiables as well. Balance can be tricky. Some weeks are better than others, definitely. But really trying to get home at a reasonable hour, unplug, unless it's in the middle of a negotiation, which, like I said, wife, kids, very fortunate they understand that. But if it's not in the middle of a, intense negotiation, trying to unplug a little bit, for a few hours until the kids go to bedtime, play a little more catch up, and then hang out. It's just, I'm getting better and better. I feel like that's really at it.
Yeah, but your ability to just understand how to pivot and when to pivot too I think is very critical from the small conversations I've had with other business owners too. It's like a very common thing that they've all said too. And it's funny kind of hearing your way of saying it too, knowing when to pivot through certain situations where like, yeah, March, April, I am here no matter what. Or like if there's certain times where I need to unplug and go back to the house too. But I mean, if it's like a negotiation thing, I'm glad to also hear that you're giving kudos to your partner and your wife, because I always admire that and see that with certain successful partners, people. I always wonder that are in relationships that how much of that balancing act is there too, as well too, because I believe some of the success is contributed to the partnership.
Oh, totally. I mean, I bounce ideas off of her as well, and she has a pretty sound mind as far as what to do, what not to do, and she picks up the slack without a doubt. I mean, if I get home and 5:30, 6, like say I'm getting home a little later, 6:37, just because it's like showings ran late. I mean, she's, taking care of the kids, got the homework done, so I try to be as present and involved and make that those situations are, very seldom is the intention. Yeah. Because I want to be there. I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, no, of course.
I don't want to miss it. What's it worth? What's the point? If you're not going to be there for the kids and for the family and everything, I mean, what's the point of building this, big business? Why?
So
what's your why?
Where do you want to take your business? Where do you want to take your career?
It's interesting. I'm really satisfied with where my career, like people say, oh, well, do you want to be this next ranking or this? And I honestly, I'm pretty content with where I am. Of course, it's always nice to grow.
Organic growth, of course.
And, people think, when they think real estate, they think metrics, right? They think of the idea of like, I want to close 50 million. I want to close 100 million one year. I want to close 200 million. I want to make X dollars. I want to be this. And I feel like a lot of those, what I had in mind, I've been very fortunate to attain, and then some, right? Mm-hmm. So much now, it's not about the next, it's about sustaining, I would say, and these different business ventures that we discussed. So growing inlet bowls, growing the rental portfolio, keeping this brand, where it is, sustaining it. And if it goes up a bit too, that would be incredible. Getting more into, the business coaching. So sustaining and growing these outside ventures is really the hope. That's the goal at this point, is like to continue on the path, really. Yeah, because I've had a few really phenomenal years too. So to put the pressure on of, well, you need to 2x what you did, I don't really need that unnecessary pressure, because I'm very fortunate that my wife and I do have the same kind of mindset of living so below our means, that why create this, other than maybe if it was greed driven, like that I have to close 300 million next year. It's like, that'd be great. And I'll take it and I'll work every bit which way that I can for my clients and for the business that I've grown to do so. But to create these like kind of continual increases is like, I don't know. Like I said, sustaining what I have and what I've built, that's really the goal. And growing the outside ventures. Growing the outside ventures is like, that would be phenomenal.
How would you define success?
A balance. Yeah. Balance, right?
No, I always look at success in such certain ways. I mean, I'm gonna. This is what we do. We butcher quotes on this podcast, and I think one of the. I think do
it. Butcher it up.
The episode I did with Ethan, we're like sharing quotes back and forth. They're like, I think that's how it's said. Yeah. Probably not. Anyways, but
I forgot how Bob Marley defined success, about not being about riches or anything like that too, but.
I always look at success of, I think you're spot on with balance and being able to have a present family life too, and being fully focused there, and also having your career and being able to sustain and organically grow it and also keeping your moral compass so in place too. And having that thing coincide in such a certain way, and you're still growing spiritually, externally too, growing with your relationships too. That's success.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe. But to actually, I know I have a this is such a side rail question, but
Go for it.
do you have any music or pump up music that you listen to when you're about to like go to like some sick deal or something that you're super stoked on? Like, I don't know if you're like, you freaking put on some little Boosie and just cruising down and you're just getting so into it. I don't, do you have any pump up music or anything, dude, to kind of psych yourself up? Or
No, not really so much. If anything, I try to like keep my heart rate down. You know, I drink so much freaking cold brew.
Freaking Pump
I'm
House,
like,
dude.
hold this mic, like, yeah. No, I drink so much cold brew, so much Pump House that, if anything, yeah, I'm trying to like breathing techniques, keep my heart rate down. Maybe more like a chill music, than like the pump up crazy
Or
stuff.
what's some music that's kind of chill that you like?
I like Peter Tosh. I like Bob Marley. I like Toots and Maytals. a lot of reggae. Also like I like Americana, a lot of country, a lot of folk. Love Tyler Childers.
Oh yeah,
Love Tyler Childers. Saw him at Red Rocks in September, and it was like,
how was that?
Oh man, unreal.
Was he wearing the denim jacket? I think.
Denim jacket,
Oh, dude, yeah.
And then he came in the second set and did the new album, which is more like the Southern Baptist style.
Yeah.
And that was like just phenomenal. So yeah, and old country too. Like Willie Nelson and David Allan Coe and Hank Williams, senior and junior. So that's really my go-to.
Yeah.
I like Kendrick Lamar though. That'll pump you up for sure, but. Like I said, more so going into it level-headed, calm, because you don't want to jump in a listing and be like, "Oh, we're gonna sell it." Blah, blah, blah. There's people around here like, "The hell?"
You ever see The Office, the show?
No, I know it, but I've never watched it. I'm
Oh
not a
my
big TV
gosh!
guy.
Yeah, there's one episode where Dwight and Jim are just getting super pumped for a sale or whatever, and then they have like their old little ritual that they do, and then Jim's like, yeah, he always does this, and then he like just blasts, and I think it was like freaking like Megadeth or something, and he's just in his car just going nuts. But yeah, you're right, you want to kind of stay calm, cool, and collective when kind of dealing with kind of all this. But dude, I appreciate your time so much, man, and it's been great to kind of just sit and just shoot the shit for a little bit and actually kind of talk rather than just in passing, like, hey, see ya, sort of thing. Getting a bowl piece off to work. One thing I like to ask people though at the end, it's if someone listened to this from front to back, A to Z. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. What is like one thing you would like to kind of bring on home or harp on, or like one major takeaway from what we kind of talked about today?
We didn't really, I don't know if we talked about this, but if someone's listening to this podcast that's newer in the real estate industry, I would say is just persistence and don't get discouraged. If someone's listening to this because they're trying to get some tips as it relates to being in the real estate industry and being an agent and trying to grow your business, to them, I would just say, just take your time. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, a lot of downs in the beginning, especially, and be patient, just be patient, because to build anything of substance takes time. Whatever it might be, whatever business that you're in. And that's how, creating that value and creating, whatever it is that you're trying to work on, you're going to care for it and appreciate it so much more with the time that you're going to put into it and building it. Like I look back at the last decade and I'm so grateful for what I've created, and I have so much passion and appreciation for what it is, because it took so long. I didn't get it right away. The book was not handed to me, the book of business, that I've built. And that's my biggest tip to someone is just be patient, take your time, put the work in, you'll grow. You'll grow.
Yeah, well, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thank you,
Hell
Jacob.
yeah, dude.
Thank you so much.
Sweet, man.
You're awesome.
This was
I really
fun,
appreciate it.
dude.
Thank
Of course.
you. Yeah.